Okay, it's time for a new movie review, and it's the 2023 movie Transformers: Rise of the Beast. The movie was directed by Stephen Caple Jr., screenplay by Jabe Harold, Darnell Metier, Josh Peters, Enric Holby, and John Holby. So already you can see that there's at least five screenwriters on actually the one movie, which is already for me a bit jarring. That you got so many different obviously screenwriters obviously on the actual movie. And the story is by Jabe Harold, and obviously based on the Transformers by Hasbro, and it was produced by Don Murphy, Tom DeSanto, Lorenzo, whatever that is, Michael Bay, and Duncan Henderson, and star with the human characters, Anthony Ramos and Dominic Fishback. The movie was obviously release dates. The movie was released in May 27, 2023, and in the United States was released on June 9th, 2023, and has a running time of 127 minutes. The budget was between 195 to 200 million dollars, and the box office gross was 439 million dollars. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit short than usual when it comes to it. We'll do the basic story. The movie basically starts off with the Transformer beasts. I think they're called. I'm trying to remember what the Maximals. Unicron starts attacking the homeworld of the Maximals, and they're being attacked by the Terracons, who are led by Scourge. I mean, we'll go into this a little bit later on, so what my kind of view in terms of the actual villains of the actual movie piece itself. And one of the Maximal leader sacrifices himself to allow the Maximals to escape the planet before Unicron destroys the home planet. Obviously, the Terracons led by Scourge and obviously Unicron want the Trans Warp Key, which will allow Unicron to travel through space and time. So obviously, it makes it easy for him to obviously travel around space and obviously different time periods to destroy planets. And then the remaining Maximals escape using the Transport Key. We then flash to 1994, where we have a character called in Brooklyn, a character called Noah Diaz, who's an ex-military electronics expert, who's trying to find a job to support his family, and especially because of his brother, who has an illness. I think it's I'm trying to think exactly what he's got. His brother Chris, who's ill, and tries to go for a job, but then he's unsuccessfully, should I say, he's turned down for the job. So the friend of his offers him a job, but it's obviously like stealing cars. He then ends up stealing a Porsche, which ends up being Mirage, and then obviously he's chased by the cops. And then there's this energy pulse that's going around, which only the Autobots can see for some strange reason. And then obviously now the trans obviously warp key now is activated by I'm trying to think of the character's name, by Elena, who's working at a museum. And obviously that alerts obviously Scourge and the Terracons to try and go for the actual key. And then Noah then accidentally meets up with the rest of the Autobots, so we get a very dishevelled and disgruntled Optimus Prime, who doesn't seem to trust human beings for some strange reason. Again, we'll go back into the story. So we meet also Optimus Prime and RC, which was great. and Bumblebee and Mirage. Now, one of there are what I'm gonna do with the movie. I'm gonna say the things I liked about the movie, and the things I didn't like about the movie. So then the Terracons and led by Scourge, and then attack, and where Noah and Elena are to get the key. But then then they end up getting the key. But then what we find out that there's actually two halves of the key, and Optimus Prime wants to sit there and get the key so that he can get his fellow Autobots home. But no one wants to destroy it. No one just wants to destroy it because the fact that he knows that with Unicron and obviously Scourge and the Terracons will then destroy Earth. And then there's a lot of an interplay and link between Optimus Prime and Noah in terms of how both of the characters start to grow. And eventually, obviously, we end up meeting up with the Maximals. Although a lot of people who are very familiar with the Transformers CGI cartoon Beast Wars, Transformers Beast Wars, will know a lot about the characters. Now, I'm not sure if every single character from the CGI series is in it because I didn't really watch it. Obviously, I got a lot older by the time that cartoon, CGI cartoon came around. Me, I've always been a G1 fan because that's what I grew up with. So then they end up going to Peru with the help of Elena and obviously Noah to try to find the key, because only obviously they can blend in to try to get the key. And obviously all hell breaks loose. There is a fatality with a character slightly before this, but then obviously there's a MacGuffin at the end of the actual, at the end of the actual movie. And then obviously the Terracons, almost called Decepticons there, end up getting two halves of the key, and then use the transwarp key to then bring Unicron into then destroying Earth. But then obviously with the help of the human captain Noah and obviously his military background, he's able to strike a plan with the Autobots and the Maximals to defeat Scourge, the Terracons, and obviously most importantly Unicron. So that's kind of the basis of the actual movie itself. And then there is two post-credit scenes which one involving Mirage, which something that happens to him in the movie, which I won't spoil, and another post-credit scene with another big Hasbro toy franchise, which would set up the actual sequel to his actual movie, and or should I say team up with another Hasbro franchise. But that's whether or not this will this will happen with the with this particular movie in terms of a follow-up movie. Now I'll talk about the good things I liked about the movie. Now, one of the first good thing I liked about the movie is I like the fact that the Autobots actually looked more like their G1 counterparts, even right down to their faces. Because what I didn't like about the Michael Bay Transformers, the way they looked, not so much the way the vehicles, just their robot forms, is they kind of looked very very similar. Also, the fact that even their face is that if you watch the animated G1 series, obviously Optimus had his mouth covered with a mouth guard. They had human-like faces, so it was it was easy to tell facial emotions and facial expressions, of whether it was anger or happiness or sadness from the Transformers, whether it was Decepticons or being evil content from the Decepticons. With this, especially with characters like Arcee and Mirage, they do a very good job in giving them proper human faces, so you can see their actual faces. Number two, I liked the way that they did Unicron, who actually does look exactly like the G1 Unicron in terms of the way he looks, in terms of what he does. So I think that part they got absolutely correct. Third thing that I liked about the movie, of all, and the third part's gonna be a bad part and a good part, but put it into the bad part. I found that the human characters, Noah and Elena, weren't as annoying as they were in the other the other human characters in the Michael Bay franchise, where they were either shouting or just being a bit silly. They were kind of, if you pardon the term, more humanized. You kind of sympathize with Noah, obviously, with his military ex-military background and his electronics background, and really wanted to sit there and to help his family, and especially be try to help his younger brother who was sick. And the Elena character, I liked her character in a sense of that she was very clever in what she did, but her boss, or I don't know if her boss or higher up, was always trying to put her down and take credit for the work she did, even when her boss was wrong. So I like that. So they weren't annoying or felt kind of helpless in any shape or form. So I think they did a lot of that right with them. So for me, that's more or less, unless something comes up, more or less what I did like about the movie. And I would say compared to the other movie, The Last Night, it was better than The Last Night. Evolved for me only just it was, in terms of the actual movie. Now, some of the bad parts I had about the movie, for me, the beginning of the movie with the actual pacing of what I will go back to is I'll add to this is the good part. So is that the Maximals, I think they did look really good. Again, as I said, I didn't grow up with Beast Wars, although I know of it and I've seen episodes here and there. They looked good in it, so it was great seeing them in it, especially after seeing them and the Autobots in the Netflix series that we did, when you had the Maximals and the Autobots all in it, and they all in it. So it was great seeing the two different Transformers together on screen. So that was great. Now, some bad parts. Now, the bad parts I don't like the movie. First, I would say for me is the pacing, because it's quite a long film, and I'd say at the beginning of it, it's kind of okay, to me, a bit slow, and then I think it kind of dwells too much on the human characters, a little bit too much in the first half of the movie, and I think it's something that all the Transformers movies have kind of suffered from, in terms of, not to say they shouldn't have human characters, because even in the G1 you had Spike with Spike and his father Sparkplug, so they were always integral parts, integral characters of the G1 series. And then obviously with Transformers the movie and the season 3, you had Spike, who obviously was a lot older and grew up, and then had a son, Daniel, so they always had that dynamic in it. But to me, they've always focused too much on it. Again, with the Elena and Noah characters, at least they haven't made them as annoying as the other characters in the other franchise. One of my second complaints is Unicron. Although I've put him in a positive thing, they've got the look of Unicron totally spot on. But where I think they're kind of, I think didn't quite work was for me was the voice. It didn't have the booming voice of the Orson Welles. Again, who can do Orson Welles? Of all, they obviously all digitally made his voice sound more menacing in the Transformers the movie. It doesn't sound for me quite right. With him being able to transform, which is what he did, which was spectacular in the G1, in the 1986 Transformers the movie, animated movie, where obviously Galvatron, because he gets Matrix, tries to use it as a bargaining chip to destroy Unicron, and then Unicron ends up transforming. Again, you didn't see it coming. Again, you don't get none of that in there. And it would have been nice to have seen Unicron do more damage to the other planets, or even try to destroy Cybertron. Now, in the comic and the G1, the origins of Unicron are very different. So in the G1, in season 3, they explain the origins behind Unicron. In the Marvel Transformer comics, the story behind Unicron is that there was Unicron and Primus, and obviously Primus sacrificed himself into an asteroid, and then transforms himself into Cybertron. Unicron does the same thing, but transforms himself into a planet that can transform. And I always felt that that origin of Unicron in the Marvel comics was actually a lot better than it was even in the animated series. And Unicron does kind of mention Primus, but they don't dwell into it. But I wished I had kind of had it done. And I did read somewhere that the whole stuff to do with Primus and Cybertron in the comics, that have made it kind of canon. So I don't know if it currently is. I know at one point it kind of was. The bad guys in it, I didn't think kind of were great, like Scourge. Now, in the animated movie, obviously you had Galvatron, who used to be, it was reformatted from Megatron, and you had Cyclonus and Scourge, and it was obviously there was multiple Scourges. In this one, Scourge is the main bad guy, whereas in the animated movie, it was Galvatron who was turned into Megatron, and I felt that part didn't work. I think it would have worked better if it had been Megatron as in Galvatron, but then you would have had done the whole thing with Transformers the movie. With Scourge being super powerful because of he's Unicron's herald. The Maximals explain that somehow he's stronger because of or Unicron, but they don't mention it. In the animated movie, obviously with Megatron that was battered by Optimus Prime. He's reformatted to the Galvatron, and then now Galvatron is even more powerful than Megatron. We see this because obviously we see Unicron rebuild Megatron into Galvatron, and then he's much more a powerful being. Again, that's explained. Again, we don't get that with with Scourge, and I think it would have worked better with Galvatron, and then you'd have explained Megatron. The Terracons in it, I thought were a bit weak. One positive thing I want to kind of add before we skip back to the bad stuff is that with them having a female multiple, obviously with RC, we are given a female Decepticon, which I don't remember her name, but I thought that was a great touch that they kind of did that, and I think that was really good. Fourth thing, I wish that we had seen the Decepticons in it, especially if they're in their G1 forms like Soundwave, Starscream, Megatron, and all the rest of them, even Shockwave. I wish they had been in it. That would have given it more gravitas, especially with the rivalry between obviously the Decepticons and Autobots. They're not mentioned again. I don't know if it's something where if they were going to make a sequel, they would have brought them into it. But I felt that kind of hampered it, not seeing the Decepticon. There's something that Scourge does to one of the Maximals, and I thought that was a bit stupid. I thought to myself, well, if you can do that to, like, you can take over a Maximal, why not do that to all of the Autobots and all the Maximals? So I thought that was kind of a problem. Again, fourth problem, I don't know if I'm running out, if I'm losing numerical count here. But one of the fourth problems I had was with the actual CGI. Although it was serviceable, for me, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, where it felt like the CGI wasn't quite as good as the Michael Bay ones, even though I don't like the way the Transformers was looking at it. It felt slightly off, or slightly cheaper. And I heard it's around about the same budget as the first Michael Bay film. Well, that came out in the early 2000s, but the budget of it seemed a bit, didn't look kind of great. Fifth, I wished we had seen more Autobots. That would have been nice, especially looking in their G1 form. Again, you don't have to put tons of them like what the G1 did in the G1 season 1 or season 2. But I would have liked to have seen more Autobots, and especially with what they did with Wheeljack. Again, he kind of looked like a Michael Bay way, the way the robots looked in it. And this is leads to my sixth problem with it, in that although that some of the Autobots and some of the Autobots looked more like their G1 counterparts, some of the characters looked like how the Michael Bay Transformers looked. So it was like some of them looked like the G1s, some of them kind of didn't, and that was a bit jarring for me. Again, I would have just gone for the for the way that they did with the with the G1. Sixth problem I thought I had with the music, and it's not the problem with the genre of music, because there's a lot of hip hop music, and I think what it was trying to go for was that hip hop was a really big instrumental thing that was going on in the 90s, obviously with Tupac and Biggie and all that stuff. And again, as people know me, I love hip hop, especially the old school stuff. So I don't have a problem with the music itself. It just felt like for me that they were just putting it in every 2 minutes, like it was a music commercial. Every 2 minutes, where it didn't feel like an actual movie. It just felt like like they were doing some kind of MTV music commercial. So there was too much of it. Although the tracks in it were really, really great, especially the Biggie, the Notorious B.I.G. track that they put at the end of it. That was really great. I love all the songs in it, believe it or not. It's like every 2 minutes, I think every 5 minutes, it was a bit too much and too peppered into it, into the actual movie. One of the 7 problems is that what they do with the character with Noah, where all I can say is without spoiling anything, they turn him into a kind of an Iron Man type character, and I think they were trying to go for the exosuit kind of thing from the animated series, but it's just the way they kind of did it. And again, it made more sense in the animated movie because it was set in the future. Well, when it was 1986, it was 1985, 96. It was meant to be 2005. So that was their prediction of the future. But with this, you know, one of my 8th problem with the actual movie is I don't know where this is supposed to come in the timeline of the actual movies, because obviously when we've had obviously the Michael Bay movies, we've had Bumblebee, that's in the past, and I think there's some videos on YouTube which explain the storyline between Bumblebee, which I've seen bits of the Bumblebee movie, but not all of it. Which, by the way, I have to unbox the Blu-ray of the Bumblebee movie, which I've still got in cellophane, which I still haven't done yet, which I need to do. And it feels like the movie is supposed to be a follow-up to the Bumblebee movie, but it's still supposed to be set in a Michael Bay movie, and it's just totally confusing because obviously we've got Unicorn they're traveling through space, and now traveling through space, and in the Transformers: The Last Night, Unicorn is supposed to be Earth. So I'm kind of confused. Is it supposed to be a continuation of the Michael Bay movie? Is it meant to be a reboot? It's the continuity of what is meant to be kind of going on with the actual Transformers series and timeline. It's all totally confusing because when we watch a Michael Bay movie, we're made to assume that that this is the first time that they've been to Earth, when they come to Earth in their proto form, and then they choose their form. And then when we watched Transformers: The Last Night, they've been here from the times of King Arthur. So it's all totally confusing, kind of all over the place. And again, with the franchise, a lot of it's been to do with the fact there's so many writers in it where they've just thrown all the ideas together. And I did hear about that. They put a lot of writers together and they came up with several different stories, obviously, because they wanted to make several different Transformers movies. Even though I did hear that they wanted to make a new Transformers animated movie, which I don't know whether it was supposed to come to the cinema or straight to DVD or Blu-ray, wherever it is. Transformers: The Rise of the Beast. How I saw it, so I saw it on Paramount Plus because I've got a free subscription to it via Sky, so that's how I saw it. Even though I'm not even though the Michael Bay movies tailed off, I've still got all of them. I just wait until they get down dirt cheap to maybe like a pound or two. It's more or less just to complete my collection as a completionist, even though I don't love all of them. It's not something that I'm going to buy full price. This, I will probably still buy it, but when it gets really cheap, especially second hand, so if I see it for like maybe like a couple of quid or two, I probably will buy it just to, you know, to complete my collection. But as I said before, it is a better movie than Transformers: The Last Night, but that's just that's not saying much. But for 2 hours you can kind of switch your brain off, but you're not kind of gonna remember it. As I said, you've seen the good and the bad points that I've said about the movie. And to me, the overall thing I would say about the movie is that I think the movie had we don't see a lot of screen time of the Maximals, and I forgot what the bad versions of the Maximals were, because again, didn't watch the series. You don't see them in it at all, and I think they didn't get enough screen time. And as I said before, and even the characterization with Optimus Prime, where he's some of it you can understand it, but it doesn't come across like he's Optimus Prime, especially if you read the history with voice actor Peter Cullen, and why and how he did the voice of Optimus Prime because of his brother that was in the army, and his brother said to him, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, about that Optimus should be a leader, and he doesn't come across like this. He just comes across very bitter. And yes, they can. I don't think they do a good job in kind of fleshing it out as to why Ultron's like that. And the same thing with with Noah. Again, the thing that about with his brother, they kind of put him to kind of one side. Bumblebee, again, he looks, that's what I mean by about, he doesn't look like the G1 Bumblebee, not necessarily his vehicle mode, but his robot mode. His robot mode still looks like the Michael Bay thing, and then he still can't talk in it for some bizarre reason. And then that's got a bit old hat where Bumblebee can't talk now. And then in some of the movies, he gets the voice back and he does it. It's just, I don't know. But yeah, but as again, I've been hearing good stuff about the Bumblebee movie where it's the human characters are pretty decent and it's more like the G1. So I will unbox that Blu-ray of that and do a Blu-ray review of the movie when I eventually get around to watching it. So yeah, this is my review of Transformers Rise of the Beast. So I hope people liked it. We'll be doing more reviews hopefully in 2024. So still keep an eye on that. So, but just listen to say where if you can share and like the video, share with your friends and family. If you give this video a thumbs up, I would highly appreciate it. I would like people to on my YouTube channel and content on the YouTube recommendation page. This is because of the YouTube algorithms favour the bigger YouTubers, so they get put onto the recommendation page rather than the smaller YouTubers. Also, if you already haven't, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel.